weekend among i-workshop mag-discuss me unsa pay ikanindot sa script mauni and say masyaka kay nakay mga elements nga bitaw no I mean makita of course brainstorming and after na kay script okay ba if kini mga festivals kay napaba siya during ngayon pandemic kay daghan man nagnahunong manggod napiktuhan sa gid ang film industry sa pandemic I mean with the closure of ABS-CBN medyo na-stuck ang ubang productions and I think ang Cinema 1 na hunong sila temporarily ang Cinemalaya I think naagyapon pero wala sila last year and this year ang Cine Filipino so once you're happy with the script then might as well send it I mean I think ang Q-Cinema nag-offers like short film, nag-offer din sila of full length. So once naka-script, then ay siya taguha sa cabinet. Let people read it, submit it sa mga film festival or asa man. And kinindako sa ning natabang na ako kay pag ari lang Manila mo daghan kay free nga mga intensive screenwriting workshop. Actually medyo makasuya ang generation ninyo kay sa mga time na ay naman gyapon but isa ana kadaghan nga na mga screenplay writing workshop karon daghan na kay opportunities naibayad ang uban pero actually daghan sa free na screenwriting workshop akong first screenwriting workshop with Direct Jun Lana one of my idols actually one of my mentors and now it's my boss I'm working under his company it was a 3-month screenwriting workshop it was free and did you ako nakatunan ang intensively right ang unsaon pagsuwat og script unsaon pagsuwat sa characters and all and of course diba yung you can't be a great writer if di po ka reader as a screenwriter you need to watch a lot of movies I remember one time nung college sad ko kay kasi bumangod at that time wala pa kaayoy opportunity to watch indie films. And I think naka-remember ko nga nakaingon ko ang ganahan ko mag-comedy writer was when I watched Zumba Dings Patay sa Shrukot si Remington somewhere in Colon I think Oriente and tanaw ko and wala ko sa Cebu nakaingon ko ganahan kong suot ani I like to be a comedy writer when I watching it and aside from watching a lot of movies karon I mean nagsugod lang ko 2 years ago I think I download script from my favorite films sa internet and I read it medyo actually if di ka film people medyo technical good ang screenplay writing so but you learn a lot from reading scripts lalo na kung imong i-back to back usahay kung nakoy free time basa ko sa script then I watch the film again so makakita ko giun sa pag shoot giun sa pag realize from paper to films and I think nanam na sa online karon tanan you can download any script I think screenplay most of the films online so I suggest to for you guys to read it if you ganahan mo mag-writing so yeah I think that ends my talk yeah so if may any questions kayo
So that was it for the script writing talks with Mr. Tabada. Thank you so much, Mr. Patrick Tabada, for the truckload of information you've given us. I hope all of you viewers are hyped up to learn more because we are not done yet. I liked how Mr. Tabada carefully brought us into the art of script writing. Diba, Ate Phoebe?
Yes, no, I especially like the part where he mentioned about kanang if walay kwento, walay kwenta. I will really use that when I will join pageants, because I really agree, especially in real life. No, it's good to have a purpose and a direction of where you're going and make a story for yourself, diba? And thank you again very much, Mr. Patrick, for such an informative talk. So before we move on to the question and answer portion, let's take a moment to thank our wonderful partners and sponsors for making this event happen. And our partners are Ali Cat Studio, Aninag, Cinemata, Junior Broadcasters Alliance, Communicators Club, Binisaya, and Sinowat. And a couple of our sponsors are Cebu STV and Michael Kauba Styling. Thank you very much. And you may follow their social media accounts on Facebook, like and follow. Okay, guys, let's all take a short break to grab some snacks, rehydrate, go to the CR, Kadiot, and be back in a few minutes. See you.
CINE U would like to thank the following: Michael Kauba Styling, CINE U in partnership of LA Cat Studio. Cine-mates, Venecia, Junior Broadcast Alliance, CINE U, and Cebu STV. CINE U would like to thank the following: Michael Kauba Styling, Cine U in partnership of LA Cat Studio.
Welcome back, viewers. Hi, sir. Thank you so much for your script writing talks. Nadyo ko daghan ako ato, sir, kay actually nag-notes jud ko. I love it when you said nga ganahan kay ka og comedy, and when you said nga if you can make your enemies laugh, you've already won half of the battle. So, thank you so much, sir. I am sure nga daghan sad sa atong viewers nga naay na take away, and I'm sure nga nasay uban diha nga nag-notes, especially sa katong passionate jud kay sila nga mo learn about writing, no? So, we actually have prepared questions. Oh, actually, it's not from us. It's actually from the viewers. So, ang first question, sir, is what is the treatment format in the mainstream media?
Oh, ano to? Sorry.
What is the treatment format in the mainstream media? This is from an anonymous viewer. Di siya ganahan ipa-mention yan.
Treatment. I mean, treatment meaning kung isulti na ako nga treat. Actually, ano lang, para siya flow, like step number 1, first scene mo, number 2, unsay may tabo sa kining eksena. Ang treatment manggod kay mura siya script pero walay mga dialogues. Basically mauna. So like imo isuwat ang first scene, ang flow from start imong first scene until beginning until ending. Walay dialogue. So mura siya outline like first scene, unsay may tabo. May strict pod nga format as long as imong masuwat ang flow from the first scene to the end.
So that was it, anonymous viewer nga nag-ask atong a question. So,
Okay,
so next
so
question.
That was interesting, no? Treatment. I'm not really particular about that because I'm not a script writer. Think edit rako. All right, sir, for your next question. How was it like, sir, to rewrite or do editing with all the revisions of Patay na si Jesus? I heard, sir, you were doing revisions while on the ride.
I mean, ako ako sa set. So we did a lot of revisions. I mean, production, productions because of characters. It was my first film production. It was again, it's also my first screenplay. And medyo lisod yun ang rewrite. And siya akong pinaka-hate nga part, but siya ang pinaka-essential, pinaka-necessary, I think. Because again, writing is rewriting. And lisod siya. Did I enjoy the experience? Well, I did try to enjoy it. Pero, yeah. Hopefully, manggod, ideally, ang writer, dapat ang production nasa final draft before shooting or at least gamay nilang changes. But kapag na kay writer on set, daghang kini pausab nimo kay daghang ipa-change, daghang ipakuan. For Patay na si Jesus, since mo nga passion project na ko siya, it's my first full screenplay. And it's also loosely based sa akong life story. And passion eh. So at the end of the day, usa ra tong goal. We want the film to be great, to be better. So as a writer, you have to do your job.
Right, I totally agree with that. I can only imagine how many changes you would have to make, especially you have to consider a lot of things, whether it would work for the film or if it would work for the actor, no? Wow. All right, Happy, do you have another question for Sir
Another
Tabada?
question from an anonymous viewer. He or she asked, pag abot nimo sa Manila, sir, was there any discrimination nga naka-experience ka, like gireject ka sa production company just because you are from Cebu?
Wala ko directly naka-feel, pero when we were pitching Patay na si Jesus sa producer sa Cinema manggod, it's a film festival, pero ang ilang ihatag ra is 1 million na grant, and it's not even half sa production cost, especially road film siya and mahal ang production. And it takes at least 5 million or more dapat ang usa ka film ha, pero road film pa gyud siya, so maybe double the price yung production cost. And we were pitching it, Bisaya film siya, so lisod siya i-pitch kay mga producers is actually Manila, and pag-pitch na mo sa mga producers, ang ilang first kid na question, how about maybe Tagalog? How about do in Pampanga or in Baguio? It's not really discrimination, pero gets mo yung Manila-centric na, you know, na for you to make a film na may nationwide or wide release, it has to be Tagalog. Pero thankfully, I mean, my producers, my director, Bisaya man sad. So, ayun ko nga, no, I want it to be in Bisaya. This is my first screenplay. And I want to be sa Bisaya man ko. So, ganahan ko nga Bisaya siya. And thankfully, natuman sa mo ang vision nga Bisaya gid siya nga film, gi-shoot siya sa Cebu. And is it discrimination? Siguro unfair siguro sa part, especially sa regional filmmakers. Yun nga kasi as what I've said na ang film industry, wala may film industry sa Cebu, nasa Manila. Pero daghan kitag talent sa Cebu in terms of filmmaking. And I hope magadaghan ang mga funding for regional filmmakers because I myself would like to do again another Bisaya film. So, isod gid siya actually. Sa mga ka-script, kay mabutang na kong Bisaya ang character. Make sure the stereotype kay usay ano mo namang Tagalog mo sa Bisaya dapat security guard ng gahi og image. So we're more than that. I mean, we're more than those Bisaya stereotype na characters. So yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, sir, for taking the initiative to let that despite that, that some people are gatekeeping the films that we should be making and we should be promoting, you're still doing that. So thank you very much for that and promoting regional film. So for your next question, sir, how long does it take for you to build your character, sir? Do you visit people for, like, example, if imong character is a nurse, do you visit, conduct an interview, or observe their lives?
Alam mo, I mean, as a writer, dapat observant ka. I mean, if na kayo mga naka-meet na mga friends or in relationship, your exet, I mean, if artist ka, I mean, your story, your character may or not be used sa imuhang output. I mean, Taylor Swift, I mean, she makes great songs of her exes, and part siya sa creative process. I mean, kung sa dugay, depende sa story, depende sa character. I always tell people, lalo na sa mga first time, ang mga beginners na writer, na write what you know. Kay kanang sayon siya isuwat. Lalo na kung beginner ka. I mean, again, patay na sa Jesus, I know all the characters. I mean, ako mga characters kay base akong family, so I know them. Naka-figure out na ako siya on the way they talk. At first pero later on, I mean, kung na-practice na nimo, you should also write mga things na waka kay bao. Pero for beginners, I mean, write characters na dool nimo, write stories nga matters nimo sa imong first screenplay, sa imong first script. Usahay dugay kaayo, for example karon ako gisuwat nga nga screenplay sa passion project, dugay kaayo ni Tulti, dugay kaayo nako nakaila ang characters, so I need to I'm very disorganized mo, so ako mga process sa pagsuwat, I think ma-discover ninyo when you start writing na lalain og process every writer. Ako, I'm very disorganized, so to battle it para magsuot ko index card and ako i-post sa wall. And mo niya mahitabo scene by scene, mo niya ang character, blah blah blah. And ako siya tutukan every now and then. Usay akong katulugan, then I gising na ako, magtanaw ko. So usay ako rearrange and stuff. So basig makatabang sa ninyo in terms sa inyong writing process. Knowing your character, may deadline. I mean, kung di sila i-shoot dayon, I mean, you could take your time to know your characters. Pero iba nakay deadline, wa kay choice, you have to know it.
Right. And I also think that, sir, we also have to be careful when making a character, especially when depicting, let's say, those with mental illnesses, because we've actually discussed that in class about media psychology, that some illnesses on film are probably over exaggerated, and it would give people the wrong idea na yung ana ang mga schizophrenic or yung ana di ay mga depression, but it's not really like that in real life. So yes, maybe some people forget na films sometimes are exaggerated and meant to be creative. So careful lang ta ana, no? Di ba happy?
Yeah, I think adding you have to do your research. I mean, especially about mental health, especially about these conditions. I mean, you need to do research. I mean, interview. Natry sa nako sa mga scripts. May nang interview ko mismo og trans woman. How does it feel? Like, interview ko og mga other people about mental illness. So, you know, I mean, you need to do your research and to know the character. Wala, research.
True.
Yes, I agree with what Ate Phoebe said. Nga, careful lang jud ta sa tong giwatch kay most of the films are exaggerated, but I do believe nga naa sa mga parehas ni Sir nga true to life jud kayo nga ila jud i-interview ang ilahang kung unsa ang kanang gibasihan silang main character. And so napadulaing question, sir, and this next question I find it funny kay ang nag-ask ani murag observant jud siguro kay siya no kay na jud siya time frame nga gibutang. So ang question, sir, is I have noticed na ang characters like early 2013 to 2016 kay ang mga babae nga bida puro nerdy or quirky ang personality. Is it a trend among scriptwriters?
Yeah, I think na may term we call the girl character stereotype na manic pixie ding girl. Ang iyara yung purpose actually sa character is for that character dapat quirky, dapat radog buhok, and for that character ang iyarang point is actually for a guy to realize something. Pero you know, that's stereotype and I'm not against I'm against it, and it should be, you know, a woman should have na siya own stand, na siya own decision, na siya own character. A character doesn't just exist for the sake of another character, especially ngayon ni woman empowerment. And dapat na siya own yung goals, na siya own yung character. You know, I mean, yeah. So I think atong time ang good. The climate, the political climate is changing. I mean, the advocacy. So I think man sad karon sa mga writers and the filmmakers are millennials and Gen Z. So I think it's slowly changing. Lisod siya mausap, pero yung change naman hindi mo siya sad nga kalit. And ako mismo, I love writing strong women character na lead. I mean, pati na sa Jesus, si Apple. I always like women na leading the pack, leading the way. So yeah. So, ayun na nag-usab, and hopefully, na lang yan ang stereotype sa writing.
Yeah, I hope so too. And people should know that script writing and film in general is a creative process, and let loose, you know, what your characters can be capable of doing, and it's like a whole imaginative world. So ang scriptwriter bahala ana, like whether you want your female character to have 3 arms, why not? Okay, so our next question is, how do you deal with mental block or when you run out of ideas?
I don't think ako mismo kadi umutog writer's block kay if wala ay ideas gyud, I mean unsa may i-block, wa siya i-block. Siguro stuck. I mean hindi siya creative block. I mean kung agyud mo gawas nga ano. Again, lahi siya og pagdeal magud lahi tag writing process. Ako mismo medyo nagisod ko during pandemic because I'm an extrovert and I draw energy from crowd. I usually work sa restaurants, sa coffee shops. I usually work sa mga 24 hours na mga coffee shop. I mean, sa kadlawon. I like watching people while I work. I draw energy from them. I meet with friends kung mas-stuck ko. I go to malls. I ride mga bus or MRT diri sa Manila just for the sake na lang ko maka-feel sa crowd and the energy. Ngayon, murag wala akong mabuhat sa pandemic. Kay natrap ka sa walls, sa imong balay, sa imong kondo. And lisod siya. And right now, I'm slowly regaining my writing groove pre-pandemic. So niari ko og Baguio from QC, magtambay ko for a month just to get out sa new environment. And again, lahi siya pag deal sa creative block. And I think yung creative block more of like procrastination siya. I mean, ako usay ako i-romanticize ang process sa writing. I always tell myself, nyara ko musot anay. I mean, not writing is writing. I mean, muna akong permi excuse. You know, you need to marinate the ideas, the character, the scenes sa imong utok. I mean, kada mo suroy ka, mastak ka, that's writing. I mean, hindi siya actually na sa laptop, but that's also writing. You're incubating ideas sa imong utok. And lahi siya process. Some of my friends na writer, I mean, gusto sila magpa-usahay, gusto sila maligo o pool, or ano, so gusto sila mukaon, gusto sila mag-food trip, then after, different, it's different stroke for different, ano naman, folks na writer. So ako mismo, ano, I need to go out. I need to, uban akong friends, kay kumastak sila, they like to watch film, series. Ako dili, kung mastak ko, kung mata ko films or ako series, di na ako makasuwat. Marag mastak nung kog samot. So, I hope you find your own process and enjoy it.
Right. I totally agree. Even me, I like to draw, and I haven't drawn anything in a very long time because yes, not drawing is also drawing. According to what you said, sir. Diba, Happy?
Sample sa mga drawings, te.
Ay, no na lang. Maikog ko kay stick-stick.
Nadyo te, lain your reason sa procrastination. Like, ang uban kay yung reason kay resting is essential. And ang kang sir kay not writing is still writing. Nana. So, the next question, sir, we have a question. Dili na siya anonymous from Leo Ter Gonzalez. How long does it usually take to finish a script?
Kung ako na-realize karon nga na ako sa Baguio and I'm doing my personal passion project, it's really hard to write for yourself. I mean, I find it easier for commission jobs or commission work. For example, I mean, some directors would ask me, "But can you write this?" Mas dali na ko siya musuwat, mas dali ko musuwat for others. And kabaw man, no, ako pa siya gi-figure out po. Usually, ang ihatag na lang nga deadline is 1 to 2 months. If dili kay kahit 3 months, mo na ang industry nga practice diri sa Philippines. Pero ako man good, I really wanna take my time. Kay akong gigon nga ang writing and screenplay is backbone. If walay script is lakat so good. Pero I also think na underappreciated yung writers sa Philippines. Kay ang film industry is star-driven, celebrity-driven, director-driven. Yung writer is always behind, unappreciated, mostly somehow. And ang orason, if di pa ko happy sa script, if di pa ko kuan, I mean, mahunong man gani ang shoot if ang imong artista di pa ready. Mahunong magi ang shoot if yung preferred nga cameraman dili pa ready. I mean, if di pa ready ang script for shoot, you could wait for me. I mean, wait for the material. I mean, kung magpo-kasi, I want the material to be good. We want the film to be good. So, ako mo diman ko og time, mo diman jud ko for me to write. Kaya ko mechanical writer, man good nga paspas kay musuwat. I mean, I want to know my characters. I want to enjoy the process. Amo na siya ang ideal nga flow. Pero yun nga, I mean, for example, TV writing. I've done TV writing. I mean, halos everyday, weekly, kahilak ko kay ugma i-shoot na. Nagsuwat pa ko, kadlang dako as dosig. Hindi need to shoot at 5 a.m. tomorrow. So I'm doing writing, kahilak na kay changes, kaya ang artista, dili mo, kay choice. I mean, that's what I have to do eh. Siguro sad, I mean, you have to distinguish unsa ang passion projects, unsa mga projects nga, that pays the bill. And karon ako na siyang nahihinay og compartmentalize sa utok. Kini nga projects, I want this to be good pero muna pambayad sa bills. Kini nga passion project, I want to take my time to write, to enjoy the process. So yeah, I mean usually pag passion projects, it took me around, like for example, kini akong gisuwat. I think this was last year pa na akong gitry og marinate, gitry na ko og conceptualize. I mean, gitagaan sa kog down payment actually sa producer ani, so wala ko choice to finish or not finish. So yun. And so yeah.
Oh, I see. Is that why sometimes some stories may be similar to each other? Kay, whatever pays the bills, diba? It's hard to do, I guess, passion projects or experimental films because you'll never know whether it would be successful or not. It's 100 or nothing. Diba, Happy? Yes. Okay. So we're gonna keep going. Well, we're not even halfway. I think we have a lot of questions for you, sir, because we have a lot of very interested filmmakers here. So let's go. This question is not to assume whether he's queer or her, het. Like, how does he develop his characters, especially the ones from the queer community, na proper ang portrayal and daily offensive sa community? And what are the challenges that he faces as a creative working under a studio na has their own visions of characters and narratives of film?
Yeah, I mean, wow, medyo loaded ang question and medyo naganahan ko about sa first part. Actually, I'm part of the LGBT community and I like writing about queer stories, and I think I remember sa USJR and first film na ako, I wasn't out then. And I wrote a lesbian story, and there was some make actually love scene, may sex scene about two girls. And na-shock ang mga pare kasi they did the first time to sa film festival ng two girls kissing. And about, I mean, I've heard stories ng iba ng LGBT na story. I'm not sure actually. And usahay, mura na siya innate na ako when I write story, there's something na queer, may queerness about it na ay LGBT nga characters. And most of them gisulti nga, even if I write hetero love story, even if I write hetero characters, I'm a queer person myself, and when I write it, I view it sa angle sa queer. So kanang straight nga character na akong give you, nagipon siya certain queerness of it. Bisa pag I write a film about straight people, I still view it as a queer story kasi ang perspective, ang angle from the writer is sa queer. So ang iyang mga experience, malatag niya sa queerness. And challenging siya about sa queer, especially sa Cebuano, no? I mean, although ngayon naman, I mean, daghan na mag-BL na boys love. And I really hope nga I mean, boring man mga straight, so yeah, why not make it queer? Anyway, ang challenging sa creative nga side, you have to compromise eh. I mean, sa mga big studios, na-adjust sila yung mga given nga sets. I've worked with Star Cinema, with the Vice Ganda film, and naasla yung mga given, yung maora gid ni, mauni siya ang rules, mauni bla. And wala, wa kay mabuhat since commissioned work and hired ka to do it. I mean, you need to be creative enough to work around sa limits, to work around sa given. And if na kay gusto buhaton, then do it sa other project. And mo na usahay kay every for example, ako yung mga studio nga films nga medyo, for commissioned work, ganahan ko guan pagpag ang term na mo, ganahan kong buto another passion project. I mean, just for my creativity lang to. Maka-frustrate siya, lalo na kapag makaingon ka nga, nindot man nga eksena, nindot man nga idea, nindot nga concept, parang di mo buhaton. And then the studio will tell you na, di na pwede because di ang target market, blah, blah, blah. And wakay mabuhat. I mean, usahay, medyo outdated na yung concept na outsider. Minsan I have to, to be a Trojan horse na nakaipang smuggle nga ideas ng mga society sa kabantay. Swerte if di kabantay mga studios. Nasud lagi ni yung concept, nasud lagi ni and yeah. Well, at least, I mean, I would say na progressive ko in terms of my views, in terms of storytelling. So, I always like to bring it naman sa every projects that I write. And for example nga, actually yun, yung na-brought up about the manic pixie girl na dapat ang girl maora ni. And I always fight na anong di ba ito buhatag another character ang babae. I mean, if you watch teleserye and even mga films before nga mga Filipina nga babae nga, if ang babae, if a girl kay makipag-sex, dirty na, hukaw na siya, and if the guys do it, murag, what? I mean, I mean, it's very subtle misogyny sa film. I mean, way before. So, and as a progressive writer, we need to battle it out, and somehow I hope mag-succeed me, and yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, on Happy?
We can clearly see that Sir Patrick is a progressive writer, that he's not sticking into tradition ba. He's actually progressing sa iyang creativity. Di siya ganan og stereotype, like ganina pa siya mention na against siya og kanang stereotyping. So our next question sir, is how hard is it to become a full-time writer? Yani ana ang katong nag-question nga unsay pinaka-struggle niya?
Ang pinaka-struggle was ang first gig nga part, ang early, kay, puso nari ko diri sa Manila, nga wakay trabaho, you don't know anyone. And just like any artist na struggling, wakay mga racket, wakay mga gigs, and mo'y pinakalisod niya nga part. So, nagpabuhi ako sa akong ayab for a while, yung kay choice. But I think ang nila birth pains, di ba? The hardest is always the start. And especially you're a Cebuano and giging ka Cebu, giging ka sa regional, and the guys nga nasa industry was taga Manila na nasa connection daan, they're from Ateneo, from UP. So meaning when they're with internship sila sa mga films na, so nakabuild sa connections ba, and ikaw you go back na zero ba, kasi wala, okay na ilhan. I think mo'y pinakalisod. Medyo nasurtihan lang sad ko kasi I get patay na sa Jesus. Nasurtihan lang sad, and nasurtihan sad kong I get to network well with people. And ideally mo kayon ka nga let your work speak for itself, pero actually bisa pag unsa ka kanindot imong script, bisa pag unsa ka kanindot nga talent nga filmmaker, if wa kay nailhan nga producer, if wa kay nailhan sa industry, medyo lisod gid siya. Sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. You have to network well, and yeah. So, may pinakalisod nga part, ang financial aspect nung nag-start ako. Actually, as a freelance, nakakita ko projects actually. So, masaya mag-known ako kay daghan. But still, as a freelance, di siya monthly mong salary. So, it's gig-based, it's racket. So, it's more of a matter of budgeting sa imong finances, sa imong... You also need to market yourself sa social media, which I failed. Di ko kabaw pa kay, you need to market sa social media, sa Instagram, bilang kay artista ba, as a creative, you need to have like a brand and all.
Bitaw. I guess that I can also relate to that pod, like as a model. It also depends on what gigs I get and what clients want to get me. So I also have to market myself and budget my time as well. But I don't think my stress, I can compare my stress to yours. So I really can't imagine. No, happy.
Okay, correlate kay student pa ko work.
Wow, pero yes,
pero support you guys. I'm getting there, and it's like parang di-challenge ko ninyo because I'm really getting there. Kay di tayo mananatiling bata biya or like a student abot dito sa working stage.
We both have a lot of time to grow as adults and as filmmakers, future filmmakers. Char. All right. So our next question, it's more taas na ni. Okay. So how can we make our characters interesting and unique, especially in a time wherein we feel as though all ideas have already been taken by other writers? For example, when we write about a gay character, it already feels as though all stories and ideas about a gay character has been written and produced. So if I were to create my own gay character, how can I make this character stand out so people can be drawn to my character in a way that wouldn't make him or her has been done by some other writer?
Wow, interesting question, bro. I believe sa what na original concept and wala na original ideas, especially ngayon karong na time na everything has been done and nabuhat na. And I think with the gay character, medyo sakto siya. I think tanan na gay character was nasuwat na, and medyo, but there's always a room for a better gay development, for a better gay character, for a better queer writing. And how do you make it unique? I think first part, stop thinking about making it unique and stop making dapat lahi ni. I think the first part is write a better queer character, write a better queer characterization, hindi siya stereotype, na naa siya own goals, na siya own dreams. he or she has his own mind. And later na about being unique, blah blah blah, kay feeling na ako when you start to think of it nga dapat unique akong character. Again, itong gisulti nako nga ma-feel na nimo ang kamot sa writer na noon, murag wala nimo tagai og heart og mind ang imong character. Ang imo na noong goal kay wala, ganahan ako mag-unique siya, ganahan ako outstand, ganahan ako mo pop up siya, which I think dapat ang main goal. I think the main goal was na siya own background, na siya own goals. He or she, bisag extra character lang ni siya, na siya own niya nga arc, na siya own niya nga arc. I mean, dili lang siya kanang typical gay best friend sa sa mga films. And it doesn't need to be unique. It just needs ang character is na arc, na heart. And another thing, na ang iyang character wa magsaligsi ang queerness. He's not just a gay character, he's a character, he's a person above all. So I think yung pagiging gay or pagiging queer is just part of it. So yun.
Wow, that's actually really inspiring. He is not a gay character, he is a character. I love it. I'm so inspired, happy. Ikaw?
Naka-feel ko sa kanang murag hinanakit sa nag-ask like as a kanang aspiring filmmaker ba maka-ask sad ko nga daghana nag-story murag nabuhatan na mag-story halos tanan ya bisag karon kay maka-ask ko unsa pa may buhatan ako story aning kalibutan na maghimo og story about sa bato. Kaya nakuha na tanan idea ba, so like naka-feel ko sa hinanakit sa nag-ask og question, no? So yeah, thank you so much, sir, for your ideas niya. Napay for the last question, kay still don't know who asked this. It's still from an anonymous viewer. He or she asked, sir, in your opinion, what are the ways to promote and bring back the Cebuano film industry?
Sorry, pwede pa paulit mo lang.
Okay, sir. So the question is from another anonymous viewer. He or she asked, sir, in your opinion, what are the ways to promote and bring back the Cebuano film industry?
Are you there, sir? Okay ra imong connection. Okay.
Yeah, promote Cebuano film, right?
Yeah, sir.
Oh, I mean, I think it's beyond as a filmmaker sa Cebuano, we can only do so much. Lalo na kamo na mo sa Cebu. I think pinaka easy and not easy, pinaka basic was to write more stories, to make more short films or feature films about Cebuano cinema. And in terms of funding kasi it's a systemic problem nga wala, it's beyond our reach na to find funding for these films. Actually naa. And I really hope na masundan ang patay na sesos of another Cebuano filmmaker na maka-release o wide release another Cebuano film. And for now, and especially karon nga nagsuffer po ang film industry given nga with the pandemic na close ang cinema, recently lang nag-open balik ang theaters. So once magbalik sa normal, ang tagaan na po ng opportunity was Tagalog, was Manila nga industry. And I really hope na dili mahutdan ang mga Cebuano filmmakers nga nasa Cebu nga dili sila mapulan og himog. And I think na may dakag venue sa Cebu. We have Binisaya, we have Sinulog Film Festival if naa ba siya this year. And I think naidaghan, and we just need to create.
But I agree. We shouldn't stop and let those restrictions, gatekeeping tricks like stop us Cebuanos from expressing our creativity and, speaking for some things and reliving some realities that we cannot through film. And like due to time constraints, I'm very sorry to our viewers and participants that we weren't able to ask all of their questions all at once. But we would like to thank Mr. Tabada for sharing his valuable knowledge and script writing today. I'm sure a lot of us, including me, are interested and inspired filmmakers and script writers who are ready to start making their stories. And for your valuable time and knowledge today, sir, CINE U would like to present a certificate of appreciation to you, Mr. Patrick Tabada, for actively participating in the webinar series titled The Reel Behind the Reel, Hows and Whys of Basic Filmmaking, given this day of November 25, 2021. Thank you very much. And now may I request everyone in our Zoom meeting today to please turn on their camera for a photo opportunity with Mr. Tabada. On na imong cam, guys. Ayaw mo mauwaw. Bisag walay ligo, fresh gihapon. Yeah, we can't smell you through the camera, so it's fine. Yeah, mawa ang kuan. Okay, madara na sa filter. Okay, so let's get ready to take a picture. Ready now? 1, 2, 3, smile. CINE U. CINE U afternoon. Okay, I think okay na to. Okay, thank you very much to our Zoom participants, and thank you, Jude, Sir Patrick, for sharing your knowledge and experience with us. Okay, now let's all take a quick break and be back after a few minutes. You guys.
Okay na, no? Thank you.
Excuse me, sir.
Wait, balik daw.
Sir. Balik daw sa photo op, sir.
Yeah, wala na.
Wala pa daw
ang
nakaka-capture.
tech team.
Gallery.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry for the inconvenience. Sorry to our Zoom participants. Reopen your cameras. Okay.
Yes. Yan.
So 1, 2, 3, smile. Take 2.
Smile, Cine-mates.
Take 2. Another one for safety. Another angle na pod.
Go.
Okay na. Text
Naka-capture na, Jude.
Okay.
Yung film department, yung mga film prof.
Huh?
Is
Sir?
it teacher?
It was Sir Kyle Paez for us, sir. And he is here today. Hi, Sir Kyle.
Hi, sir. Hello.
So,
Okay,
yes, learn na jud me mga basics.
Yeah. Okay na.
Yes, okay na. Thank you very much.
Walang
Thank you, guys.
kwento, walang kwenta.
Yeah, let's take another break, guys. Quick break.
Thank you so
Quick
much,
break to Jude, and
sir.
be back after a few minutes. Thank you so much, Sir Patrick. See you.
CINE U would like to thank the following: Michael Kauba Styling, CINE U in partnership of LA Cat Studio. Cine-mata, Binisaya, Junior Broadcast Alliance, CINE U, and Cebu STV. CINE U would like to thank the following: Michael Kauba Styling, CINE U in partnership of LA Cat Studio. CINE U would like to thank the following:
among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter. I must have sent 400 poems on the way you used to smile at me. I used to my hand for you daily, but my thumbs are running dry. In other words, no one wants to hear, darling, kiss me. That broke my heart. I should fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I must have sent 400 poems on the way you used to smile at me. I used to write them for you daily, but my thumbs are running dry. No one wants to hear a song about the girl that broke my heart. I should have listened to my mama, she saw through you from the start. But now we're here in Regent's Park amongst the flowers, and I wish it would rain. 'Cause in the sun you look so lovely that I'm falling for you over again. Since I have nothing left to say that will make you change your mind, I'll say goodbye on a beautiful spring day. There was a place not too dissimilar to this one where I first saw your face. You looked like home, sat all alone. I should have found somebody cheaper to chase. Tragically, nobody told me how expensive you would be. I lost more than money, dear. You knocked the swagger out of me. But now we're here in Regent's Park amongst the flowers, and I wish it would rain. 'Cause in the sun you look so lovely that I'm falling for you over again. Since I have nothing left to say that will make you change your mind, make you change your mind, I'll say goodbye on a beautiful spring day. to the moon and let me play among the the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, darling, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. Hey. Let's go. Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, darling, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. Song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, in other words, in other words, I love you.
karon kalibutan ang kahimtang sakit ang nakatayog.
Nagkalisod nga edukasyon, may mga planong wa madayon, daghang uhaw sa impormasyon.
Laban lang sa kalistanan na sinati di mo undan sa pakumbate sa pagsibya sa pagsulat balita pagpadayan
sa mga nasinati sa katiling banog sa katawhan dili pwedeng mo undan
karong panahon nga magtimbayayo mangutana to atong paglao kining tanan maagian maong kumbate lang
kaali pagasturyahan ang mga butang nga nabuhat nato sa kagahapon ug karon niining kahimtang nga kalisdanan nagiatubang sa tanan ug ang pag-atub sa kadaghanan mahadok mo lakaw sa kadalanan hangtod kanus ang mahuman na mahimutang na ang tanan mata sa imong pagtiyong ali atong solusyonan ali atong solusyonan
I believe sa ayaw pagatuloy.
Hello, welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a snack and drank your water because we are gonna keep going and move on to the second part of our script writing webinar today to further enhance our knowledge and get another perspective on script writing. Let's get to know our next speaker. Unfortunately, my co-host is having some technical difficulties, or is she here now? Oh, Nana. Hi, Happy. I thought you were gonna leave me.
Hi. No, I'm not leaving anyone, Char.
Okay, sige. Would you mind introducing our next speaker for our viewers?
Yes, of course. And I'm really excited to have the part 2 of our script writing talk. So for our next speaker for the script writing talks, he is currently a faculty member at the University of the Philippines, Cebu College of Communication, Arts and Design, and a Palanca awardee for short story in Cebuano. He is the director and writer of the movie Huebes Huebes, which received a nomination for Best Screenplay in Gawad Urian Awards. He recently bagged multiple awards in the Sinulog Film Festival of 2020 with his documentary film, Masterpiece, which won Best Story, Best Editing, Best Production Design, and Best Poster Design. A virtual applause and warm welcome to Mr. Janwar E. Yap.
Hello. Thank you. Is this the part that I start talking na? Diretso na ako sa...
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much.
Stage
Blanche
is yours.
Okay.
Yes, may you kindly turn on your camera also, sir, if it's available.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'm much more comfortable behind the camera, but it's okay. It's okay for this occasion. Let me probably you had a session with Patrick na ba, guys?
Yes, sir.
And the difference is that Patrick has been in the mainstream for already, and in my case, I'm in a period of kind of transition. I've been a fiction writer for the longest time, and it's only now that I started producing some films. No? And so that's the unique position that I come from, no? As a fiction writer, and transitioning into, not really transitioning, but essaying or attempting the screenplay, screenwriting. And I confronted a lot of challenges. The difference between a narrative and outright screenplay, where you only see dialogue. So that's the thing that I needed to confront when I wrote my script for Huwebes Huwebes. So, and also, I also come from a different position as an academic, meaning to say, when I write, what I write are kind of loaded with theories, and that shouldn't be. I mean, artists are supposedly to be dictated by, by instinct, by not quite by magic, as a whole, if you're an artist, not by a very conscious use of theories. It robs you of the romance of the creative act, if you are conscious with theories. But nevertheless, it's something I cannot disregard altogether. I'm a teacher of theory, and at the same time, I have been a fiction writer. So that's where I come from when I write a screenplay. So I'd like to show you, supposed to show you is a, wait, how do I share screen, guys? It's not in the options.
Below, sir. Tupad sa chat button na ay share screen.
Yeah, but the options, the frame, ang mga frames here are wala man ang.
You should open the presentation first,
files?
sir. Open the presentation first.
Yeah, it's already open.
In the basic, sir. Basic.
Yeah, the basic. I'm already on basic. The options are desktop one. Should I choose desktop one? There's whiteboard there. Desktop one.
Try choosing a desktop one, sir. Desktop one. Naka-open naman presentation, sir.
Yes. Allow Zoom to share your screen. Okay.
Okay.
Are you seeing this?
Try, sir.
Yeah. Are you seeing this? No.
Not yet, sir.
Wait. Can I,
Sir?
sorry, can I email the file instead to someone, to anyone?
Yes, sir.
It doesn't appear mo ganun. Sige, this will take siguro mga 5 minutes. Sige, to whose
Yes, sir.
address?
I will chat, sir, in the chat box.
the show part. No? You have to dramatize your ideas. No? And another challenge also is when I write fiction, the imagination sort of just fly off, and without thinking of without worrying about um, cost, or is it possible visually or technically. I mean, you don't think of production cost when you're writing short stories, di ba? I mean, so bisag asa lang mo lupad ang imong imagination. No? So you don't factor in equipment, you don't factor in the production budget, and you're freer when you're writing fiction, no? Short stories. But in screenplay, there's a lot of things to consider. No? Your budget first and foremost, no? And the practicability of the scenes, no? And you have to put in mind. In fact, it helps you if you're already thinking of a particular place, no, or a location, and work around it, no? And the availability of characters as well, and as long as the post-production has taken place, the script is always have to be volatile, to be flexible, no? All the way to the shooting day. No? So, yeah, na siya. And what else? See you guys. You can ask questions.
Hi, sir. The tech team is wondering if you've already sent your file to the email.
It's kind of loading pa, no? It's Google Drive. It has video as well, no? So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sige. How about we ask you some questions, sir, that weren't able to be answered by Sir Patrick, no? So how about so this one question asks, when do you decide to throw away an idea for a film, and when do you decide to keep pushing for an idea?
Well, I think we should understand the nature of cinema, no? It's even right at the start, no, of the invention of the camera, or the invention of the idea of cinema. It has always been, a collaborative art form. No? There are three people involved. There's the artist, there's the scientist who creates the equipment, and there's the businessman, who funds all the things all together. So even until now, it's the same triangle, no? And so it's not a unilateral decision on the part of the artist. No? In most cases, you have to depend also on the funders, the producers who will give you the money to shoot. So when do you decide? I mean, you have your imagination fly off, but the budget cannot fly off. But so you have to adjust. No? And if those scenes are really very important to you, and it cannot be shot. It cannot be shot because it would be very expensive. So maybe you do some compromise, no? But if you're the kind of artist who don't want to compromise, then maybe you call it off. You call the project off. I mean, if you, I mean, if you are so in love with your material and you cannot execute it because of the lack of funds, then maybe put it on a shelf for a while, and maybe sooner or later, I mean, people with money will trust you with that project. And I think it's basic man siguro. It should be the funds who will dictate whether one, but you can do some compromise though. I mean, I think you can see it in another way. No, you can. I mean, you can view the limitation, the budgetary limitation, as a challenge to your creativity. No? So you can adjust. Kana lang siguro. Don't fall in love too much with your idea, as to make it inflexible. So I think maybe you should adjust as well, and that's see it as a challenge to your creativity. Yeah. And when do you abandon a project or a script? There are ideas that really takes time to mature, and in my case, for example, as a fiction writer, I have developed the discipline to push paragraphs, sentences after another, kind of everyday thing, you know. Even if I can, if the ideas don't flow spontaneously, but I have to have the discipline to push, even by a few sentences or paragraphs every day. And I think in hindsight, that's how I found that it's where the magic works. The more it becomes difficult, I think that's how the you know the as the Nobel Prize winner Orhan Pamuk said, it is when you feel so helpless when the muse appears before you and knocks some sense into your head and you can create something. I believe in that because when I read my older short stories and I read some moments there that I really like, I don't exactly remember how it came about, how they came about, those moments. All I remember is it was, I mean, I must have been so blank at that time, but I pushed myself and thus came out something that I never really predicted. And I think that's how the magic of creativity works. No? So, ano siya, and yeah, but I think the trick there is do not easily abandon just because a project, just because you're having a hard time, and that should be a poor excuse. In fact, that's the best reason to push it forward, if you think you're stuck somewhere in your story. Yeah, kana siya, no? Thank you. If you have any, I hope that I've answered your question.
Yes, I think that was very informative, sir. How about my co-host, Si Happy? Do you have any questions for Sir Yap? Ali, Happy.
So, a question, sir, kay like before you actually became a full kanang script writer kanang, how did you start? Like how what was your kanang beginning? Like unsa ang mohang pinakauna nga gibuhat before ka nahimo og kanang full-time kanang script writer?
But let me correct that. I'm not a full-time scriptwriter. In fact, I'm a
I'm
full-time
sorry.
eater, sleeper. but but uh, the only time that really, I mean, I've been doing DIY films, no, and those films that really got the award in Sinulog, documentaries. Those are kind of murag, I mean, I was kind of toying with the idea lang at the time, but they did win awards. So I mean, maybe I can do it, no? So until the Huwebes Huwebes project of the Binisaya film movement came about in 2019. So there were three of us, scriptwriter directors, si Don Frasco and Chris Villarino, and we were given the idea of creating. We were given the prompt to create a film that reflects contemporary issues. So we chose the extrajudicial killings or the drug war, and so if you are asking me how I began, yes, I think that's actually that moment where it all began. So I did have short stories on the drug war. The problem now is how to translate them into the script. This is actually part of my presentation. So when I was given this material of the drug war, I was thinking, I mean, if you look around, people are still, enamored or still sympathetic of the drug war. They think it's correct. But there has been a lot of, dead people and collateral damage on that issue. So, and yet, so how do we tell the story of the drug war? I was thinking of that. So if you tell the people statistics like 30,000 dead, 6,000 dead in the drug war, it doesn't quite register in the head of people. So what I did was, I think for it to register, tell it in a way that those who were shot, those people who were shot were sons, were fathers, were mothers, were sisters. That will bring the story closer to home. No? Katong di pamatay, dili to sila numero, dili to sila statistics. They were anak to sila, no? Amahan, igsuon. So that's how I started the script. No? So I might as well create a character who is a victim of the AJK. No? So I wish I could show you the presentation, but
yeah, what's the status of your PowerPoint, sir? Has it sent already or wala pa?
it's I don't know.
Are you using
much percent.
PowerPoint, sir?
I'm using Keynote, but I can convert it to can I convert it to PDF, guys? Para it doesn't.
Yeah.
I'll convert to PDF and post it here, siguro.
Sige. Whatever works for you, sir. Let's try.
I think that'd be quicker, siguro.
Yes. I bet our future filmmakers and scriptwriters are very anxious to learn a lot from you.
So can I send a file here on the chat box?
Okay, let me yes, though, you can, sir.
List has helped me as a fiction writer. I mean, say for example, in the case of Nick Joaquin, the national artist, he had been writing fiction that were based on some police reports. In my case, I was a desk editor in the newsroom for a number of years, and every night I encountered different stories. Some weird ones, some really boring ones, and from there they become. I mean, it's. I have that advantage position of getting to see different stories in a day, every day. So, and I can actually pick some of them or a composite of them, and create a story out of them. So, yeah, it helps a lot. I mean, I think because the tendency of the creative writer is to be so preoccupied with himself and doesn't make it a point to step out of his own world. So mura siya solipsistic ang dating, meaning you're the only person who exists in the world. That's the tendency for creative writers. I think as a journalist, the job of the journalist is to step outside of your comfort zones. And I think that's what creative writers, screenwriters should do. Step out of your comfort zone, look for stories out there. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you'll be writing stories about yourself. I mean, at some point, ourselves will be boring. So we have to step outside of our comfort zones. And that's how journalism helps you, because it requires you to go out and look for stories. And I'm thinking, let me cite a very specific example. I was supposed to write a martial law story. So I went to this laundry woman somewhere in Virama, and some years ago, decades ago, during martial law, her husband, who was a community organizer, was one night, they heard some strong knocking at the door, and then when she opened it, armed men, masked men, took her husband away, and that was the last time she saw of her husband. My interview took place some 20 years after the incident, and I interviewed her, and one of the most striking thing that she said was that at night for 20 years she doesn't lock her door. Why? Because every night she still expects the husband will be coming home. That moved me no end. So I thought, yeah, that's a good story there. I mean, good in a sense that I can, it's good material. So yeah, so that's a specific example of how journalism can help your creative life as a storyteller. I wouldn't have known that story. I wouldn't have thought of that story had I not stepped into that world. No? So that's how journalism will help you as a creative writer. You know, that's one specific example. Yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Yes, sir. That was very insightful,
did.
actually. I think like experiences and reading a lot can really contribute to what you can write as a scriptwriter. And actually, sir, the tech team has just informed.
That's supposed to be the film, no, bro? You can show it, man. It's a PDF file. Okay, here. No, so like I said earlier, no, I'm from a unique position of being an academic who teaches theory and at the same time a fiction writer, at the same time a journalist. So how do these things feed into the writing of the script? So yeah, so we were urged to or compelled to write a film about the drug war. So these were the things that I was thinking. I was thinking at the time, at that time when I was writing the script, I was also at the same time finishing my novel. The theme of that novel is on the archipelago. I was thinking that if you're familiar with the Foucault theory, of the carceral state or the Gulag archipelago or the surveillance state, what does this mean? Every one of us, all the citizens are under this big brother thing. We're all under surveillance. And the anti-terror bill, in fact, puts us, every one of us, vulnerable to surveillance. And then I have a story that I needed to imagine how it would look like visually, because this time I would be writing a script, a visual script, and it had to be from narrative fiction to cinema. And then I also have written a short story called Ang Haya ni Tasyo. It was these two small islands somewhere in Bohol. The other one is a small island, the other one is bigger. And I have been tempted to document something between that happens between these two islands, because the smaller island doesn't have a cemetery. So when someone dies in this small island, they have to carry the coffin all the way, because shallow waters, the sea becomes shallow, so they have to carry the coffin and walk all the way to the next island to bury the dead. And I was thinking, wow, that looks so good visually. That was at the back of my head. And then I was also thinking of, the idea of the universal is in the particular. So the more I zero in, the drug war is so huge a theme, so I had to zero in on something more personal, on small characters. So next slide, please. So like I said ganina, it's hard to convey the message or to create an effect of the message if you just cite statistics about how many dead people in the drug war. I have to bring it down to the level of humanity. So what man ang mga ground realities that we see in this drug war? Next slide, please. Okay. Another thing also is this the viral photograph by Rafi Lerma, and I wanted to recreate that scene in the film that I was going to make. Okay, and this was the recreated Pieta image in the film that I made with this Webes. Next slide. So another idea, the nation as archipelago, humanity, and the war on drugs. So all of these things I have to consider when I start writing the script. Next slide. Okay, so I created this character named Ricoy right at the center, and I wanted Ricoy to be at the center and surrounded by many people who are all trying to rip him out, who are trying to push them. So there was this Eman character. Eman is a stranger who arrived in Maharlika. Maharlika is the barangay. We don't really see much of the backstory of Eman, except that we know that he's a stranger and he wants to be low key, and he's a poet, because in one of the drinking sessions, Eman suddenly burst out into reciting poetry, and this has a reference, the Eman character has a reference. We know of Eman Lacaba, the poet warrior in the 1970s. He wrote poems, but he became a rebel. And the next is the cop, here at the corner of the frame, who is in close contact with Ricoy, because Ricoy is his asset. Asset si Ricoy. And the next, the father, who is in prison. Okay, and um, estranged ilang relationship, no? Love-hate ilang relationship with the father. And then there is Tatoy, the drug lord in the neighborhood. And Rico used to be his mule, ang iyang palusot sa mga drugs. And there's the mother who a little bit immature, but she has to take care single-handedly now, Rico. But what happens is it's actually Rico who's taking care of the mother. And there's this Leonor, the object of love ni Rico. And but in the end, later, however, Leonor fell in love with someone else. So in the naming of my characters, there are allusions to real persons, no? or to some other characters like Leonor, because of Leonor Rivera, no? Jose Rizal. Rico is also a wordplay for Jose Rizal. And Eman, yes, to Eman Lacapa. Next slide, please. So unlike in short story writing, I can dedicate a few paragraphs for every character, diba? That's what we can do. No? So the readers would really take time reading descriptions of each of the characters along the way. But in cinema, you can actually kind of introduce them in one frame. No? So this is one frame where I've introduced 4 characters. No, there's the policeman, there's Ricoy, there's Eman, and there's Leonor, no, all in one frame. No? So when they move, I hope you can see the film. No? When they move, you can really see the dynamics of these 4 characters. No? So that spares me from creating separate scenes to introduce all of them. No? So shortcut siya, no? In one frame, nakita na ang upat ka characters. Okay, next slide please. Yeah, and I wanted to show right off at the early part of the film that that Eman could be a fugitive, you know, and he is afraid to I mean, he had to be low key because he could be spotted by some, you know, police intelligence. So you can see the anxiety. How should I express by way of the script the anxiety of Eman, no? So how to convey the information or the fact that Eman is a fugitive of the law without forcing it, no? So right at the start when they met Ricoy and Eman, ang first bit na pangutana ni Eman is you're friends with that cop or amigo mo sa police, no? So why of all things mo na ang first niya nga gipangutana ni Ricoy? Because mahadlok siya, no, na makuanan siya sa police, and nakita man po niya earlier na si Ricoy is a friend sa police. So at this point niya sa film, ditultulan siya asa tong address ngayon gipangita na si Ricoy mo ay itultul niya. Okay. And the original name of the place was Bagumbayan, but we shot the film in the real Maharlika. So when I saw that, so we changed the name of the place into Maharlika. Anyway, there's the arc already, so we don't have to create a new arc called Bagumbayan. No? So that's how sometimes scripts changes, no, along the way. Next slide. Okay, big ideas, no? The nation, the archipelago, the revolution. So how am I going to translate that into a dialogue? No? So after Rico heard Eman reciting a poem, niya, I wish I could show you, but at that time, si Rico had a crush on Leonor, and he saw that Leonor was bringing poetry books. So Rico was bragging, ni-brag si Rico, ni-bluff siya nga musulat man sad kog poems, no? Bisag dili good, no? So para lang pa-impress ngadto ni Leonor. And now, gipromisa niya si Leonor nga sulatan niya og poem. Unya, so napugos na ron siya, asam siya unsaon niya pagsulat og poem. But when he discovered that Eman, the stranger who just arrived in the barangay, knows how to write poems, nga siya tabang ni Eman, no? And then Eman asked a favor, unya, so gitagaan siya di tuman ni Ricoy, and thus this conversation happened, no? So while they were talking, out of the blue, nag flag raising ko na may flag sa kilid, so gi-raise ang flag ni Ricoy. No? At this point, nag-istorya sila about poetry. So ni tambag si Emma ni Ricoy nga kung ganahan ka mo sulat og balak, ayo na pagduha-duha, no? Dapat full imong tibuok nimo nga kalag imong i-spend for that poem. Kanya at the same time, while he's talking about this, si Ricoy nag-raise a flag. So mahimong double-edged ang meaning sa iyang pag-ingon na do not be half-hearted when you write a poem. It's also another way of saying, if you love your country, then by all means, no, dedicate your life to your country. No? And then, actually, nabali ni ang flag, di ba? Ang red nasa ibabaw, di ba? In this shot, naklaro na kita nga audience nga nagtanaw, maklaro na nato nga nabali ang flag. Yeah. When the shot happened, niingon si Ricoy, gutom man your Eman. So niingon si Eman na lahi ra gyud ning gutomon ta kay manung tagubat, no? Because nabali man ang flag. No? So write off is another way of saying when people go hungry, I mean they go on a revolution, no? Okay. There's the possibility of waging war out of hunger. So but these things, this is the job of the critic to decode, no, these scenes. But a filmmaker can create these scenes, can choreograph these scenes instinctively. But the critic can perhaps explain it better. Next slide, please. Okay, so when I took this shot, na barko sa unahan. And I think I like that scene because naay barko and signifier siya, no? Symbolic siya of the ship of fools, no? The country as a ship of fools. Ang ilang gistoryahan diri was the dialogue came ingon nga naiduha ka isda, no, nga naglangoy. Nasa dagat, kunya nakasugat sila tigulang nga isda. Yan ingon ang tigulang nga isda, "Hey boys, how's the water?" Ang duha ka isda nga mga bata wala sila kasabot sa pangutana. So nipadayon sila swim. But further ahead, nangutana ang usa, bay kanang what's water? No? Nangutana sa unsa nang tubig? And all this while, I mean they are in the sila sa tubig, kinaman sila sa dagat. And gi-explain na siya ni Eman na this is very much like human beings, no? We hardly see things that are really very familiar, no? Just like the two fishes who couldn't even recognize that they were in the sea, no? What's water? Okay. Next slide. Yeah. Around this time, Eman was reciting a poem about injustices, about situations in the country, and I wanted to show this frame because that's who we are as Filipinos. No, we drink our way through our hardships in life, no? And thinking it could save us from all these crises. We drink our way through that. A lot of us Filipinos, and that's how I composed. That's how I decided to create this shot and this dialogue. Next slide. And the theme song, of course, is Usa Ka Libog Usa Ka Panamilit by Katsuki. No? I don't know if you've heard that song. Next slide. Yep. No, I'm only putting this. These are statements from critique. No, when it got nominated sa Urian. And when I read these comments from the critics, these are actually part of a longer essay, no? Kaning akong gipang quote. I was so elated because what the message I really want to put across, no? When I wrote the script, I think na-decode nila, no? They were able to catch the symbolisms, no? The symbolism of archipelago. I mean, the film never mentioned the word archipelago, but here they are mentioning it in their criticism, no? So I sort of felt so flattered, no, that they were able to catch the symbolism in that film. You know? Next slide. yeah, let me just cite, no, kanina naka-red, no. Through his writing and direction, each filmmaker played a vital role in mapping the metaphorical geography of the island, the seaside, and the open sea. No? Huevos is the most conceptually and visually archipelagic, no? Series of film islands, no? Deeply cognizant of the multiplicity and simultaneity of places. Okay, this is of course not the job of the filmmaker to explain his work, diba? And that's why we need critics. No? So yeah, but I was so thankful na nakuha niya, na catch niya ang symbolism. Do I still have a slide pa ba after this? Yeah, no. So medyo academic siya, no? Maharlika that finally creates this connection between the regional and the national imaginary. Remember guys, they were in an island and yet they were talking about the national situation. So makita nimo ang you know that even the islands, no matter how far you are from the capital, you're still part of the nation. So you can talk about the nation. No? The inverted Philippine flag signifying the state of war. No? And the visual beside po ni Pati Campus ang reference to the Pieta image of Rafi Lerma. Okay. I think this is the last slide, ba? Napa ba? Yeah, napa di ay no si tulad ng lumulutang na isla, no? Kaangkla ito sa mismong kapalaran ng mga tauhang nakaangkla sa historical na kapalaran, karahasan, tigati ng bansa. Yeah, like I said, no, they might be in the island, but they're talking about the national situation. Okay. Next. Yeah. And then he talks about colonialism, no, the archipelagic space. Nakatira tayo sa mga isla o mga buhay-buhay na tila walang kaugnayan at kabuluhan sa isa't isa. Walang natatanaw na dagat at kabundukan. Okay. Yeah, because a lot of big percentage of the scenes in Huevos, no, in Maharlika is on the seaside, no? And a lot of sea. You can see a lot of sea, a lot of islands in this film, no? And precisely because the theme was on the archipelago and the drug war. Okay. Next slide. This is the last one. It's the last one, no? Okay. So, like I said, ganina guys, this what I'm telling you now may not be applicable to you because number one, you're probably not too conscious about theories. No, I can't help it. I can in my case I can't help it because I'm a teacher. Another unique position also is that I'm a fiction writer. So in your case, if your creative life has started as as an aspiring filmmaker, you will have a different process altogether. No? And my lecture to you now may not be so ideal for you. No? But I can answer, however, if you have any question. I'll try to answer your questions. Yeah. One thing, yes, okay.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Professor Yap, for an interesting perspective. I actually really appreciate the use of symbolism when it comes to movies. I always like to analyze it myself. Like, what does it mean when a single leaf would fall from a tree? Does it mean like that's the end of an era or something? So I think it's really important, Mansa, that scriptwriters would incorporate that. And sir, we're wondering if you have a copy of your Huevos, and could you stream it and show us?
I've been trying to, but it's part of the PowerPoint, man. But
oh, okay.
Yeah, so
so do you have an external copy, sir, like not part of the PowerPoint, like in a folder?
Yeah, how do I send that?
Or can you try to share it?
Your program is still ongoing until when?
Today. Today, sir.
Until today. I can send it after my lecture. Siguro I can send it after my lecture. You can watch it na lang on your own. It's 27 minutes. Nice.
Yay!
Okay.
I'll email it na lang, but yeah. So yeah, you keep the copy to yourself, guys, because I don't have the permission. I don't have the permission of the other producers. So,
okay.
Yeah. So it's pirated. No? I'm pirating my own film.
Oh, okay. Sige, sir. Di na lang
Thank
tao.
you, sir.
Wrong na. Sige, thank
But
you
I'll
so
send you a
much,
copy.
sir. Okay, thank you very
Yay,
much.
thank you,
Sige,
sir.
happy? Take it away.
So I really liked how the movie was like what we thought is a simple scene. Kinadyo day daghan symbols. That's actually what I really love about movies. Like if mag-watch ko movies kay look deeper ko ba like unsa kay meaning ani no like katong simple lang nga kanang barko sa background kinada siya meaning about the ship of fools and even about katong gistoryahan nila nga about sa mga fish katong ang fish nag-ask about sa water kay it also like symbolizes us humans that we tend to kanang ignore what's kanang normal na ba like we think that it's normal but it's actually extraordinary if you really get to understand it ingan na.
Here's an example lang no katong the movie nga Minsay isang gamo-gamo no just a very simple scene where the woman was washing her hands no and while she was washing her hands ang dialogue is kayo nang bahala dyan, no? Wala na akong pakialam dyan. So, I mean, that's it takes reference to, di ba, Pontius Pilate, na manghinaw siya. How could a symbolism be so literal in that sense, di ba? So, inana siya. Sometimes, guys, the characters themselves can also be symbols, no? Let me cite one. For example, katong Meet Joe Black, no? It's an old film, no? There was death. Si death is ni occupy siya sa body ni katungay namatay si Keanu Reeves ko na ito no. So ni occupy siya sa body ni Keanu Reeves. And Keanu Reeves met the death ni ari siya sa si death ni ari siya sa earth no. Ni sud siya sa body ni Kwan kaya na siya gustong i-claim na tao no. Mamatay na. But it so happened that the person who was about to die was a doctor. And a businessman, and this businessman has a daughter, and Death fell in love with the daughter. So prolong sa niya, wasan niya gi-claim si katong businessman kay he wanted to stay in the house of the businessman and probably tried to get to know the daughter. The daughter, by the way, was a doctor. No? And eventually, at some point, they fell in love with each other, and then, of course, I mean, they made love. No? At the exact moment where they were making love, guys, and of course, it was the first time Death was making love, diba? I mean, Death is an otherworldly creature. At that time, it's an earthly thing that he was doing, no? Making love with someone, with a human being. And of course, and then in the middle of that scene, the lady doctor said, I love making love with you, Joe. I mean, it's like making love with someone, making love for the first time. You know? At that point, guys, the two of them, these two characters, have become symbols, no? Because here is Death making love with the doctor, no? And the doctor symbolizes life, diba? And because of that act of making love, death and love making love, death and life making love, no? So na transgress, no, ang boundaries between life and death because of love, no? And that's the perfect symbolism, no? Very beautiful symbolism in that very exact moment. So if you're developing a script, you know, try to conceptualize these symbols, no? Yeah, and you don't see much symbolism in soap opera, of course, because most of these things are hurriedly done, no, hurriedly written, and sometimes they're just writing it for the sake of money. No? But a self-respecting scriptwriter or an art house film always take note of these symbolisms. I'd like to recommend the film, guys. Manchester by the Sea. You know? It won best screenplay actually. Manchester by the Sea. What I like about it is you never see the main character, guys, kanang nasunog iyang balay kay gibiyaan niya, no? When he came back sa balay, nasunog na, and along with it iyang children namatay. So gibuwagan sa siyang wife. That's how the movie started. The entire film, guys, is about something else, no? It doesn't seem like to have a reference to that beginning. What he did was he was in that film he was given the task to take care of a nephew, no? Can you imagine that, guys? I mean, here I am. I have not fully reconciled with my own grief, and here I am tasked to take care of someone else. No? So on film, you never see the person grieving. No? Walay any amount of crying or grieving the entire film. But here you are watching the entire film. Murag ka nang ganahan na ka mo volunteer nga, pwede ako yung mahilak para sa character. Because they understate niya ang grief. No? Just because it's about grief, you don't necessarily have to write the script to dramatize the grief. No? Pwede nimo siya ilubong. No? I remember another example would be katong Lola, no, by Brillante Mendoza. No? These two grandmothers were taking care of the cases of their grandsons. No? Okay, napapatay ang grandson sa usa sa grandson po sa usa. And magkuan na sila, no, karang mag-arrange na sila nga i-drop ang kaso, no. So the towards later part na niya, nag-negotiate na sila, sige, matag lang kung kwarta, kaya i-drop ang kaso, ayaw na pa yun ang kaso. Puro sila lola, ha, ilang gisolban ang problema sila mga apo. But at the exact moment na nagkita na sila dito sa fast food, wala gid sila mag-istorya about sa kaso sila mga apo. So when they sat down, gitunol niya ang kwarta. But you know what the dialogue was about? Ang ilang istoryahan, arthritis. Gets ninyo? Arthritis lang istoryahan. What's lang mag-istorya about? And given naman siya, guys. So you don't have to put it there in the script. The more ni mo i-bury ang pinaka-kuan. I mean, given naman siya. So all they talked about was arthritis, sa may mong kaon, sa may mong tambal. Puro man sila tigulang, no? And gitunol ra ang kwarta. They don't even mention in the dialogue ang kwarta. So you see, that's a very clever way to write a script, guys, no? Diba? I mean, naanad mo gito sa radyo nga or kanang drama sa atong kuan nga kanabang bisag nag-ana na sa iyang kumo, mingon pa gyud bagong tikaron, di ba? I mean, duble, di ba? Di ba? So you don't do that, no? I mean, don't state the obvious, no? In fact, mas nindot siya kung i-understate mo, no? I remember this katong Kill Bill ba to? Quentin Tarantino film. I forgot, but they were about to kill someone, and on the 5th floor, upper floor of a building. So they were on their way. They were talking about foot massage. No, so pag abot dito, they break into the door, kill someone. No, after killing someone, they balik sila sa elevator. Di padayon nila ilang dialogue about foot massage. Gets ninyo? Wow, very clever way of kuan, di ba? I mean, kita naman tanga patyon to nila, di ba? And the implication of that thing is that dili nila issue ang pagpatay, anad na sila mo patay. So they don't even have to talk about, di ba? And they don't have to talk about brag themselves as the killers. I mean, visually makita na to nga killer gini sila. And ma-highlight pag yun nga professional killer sila because they were just talking about foot massage, meaning to say it's an everyday thing for them, no? Pagpatay. Yes, no? So very clever way of writing it, no? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I really like it if scenes like that happen. Food like anything that works the mind, like Inception. Like when before I watched Inception, a lot of people told me like, "Oh, libog kayo na movie. You have to watch it multiple times." And not, but I have that as a film student, it wasn't that hard for me to like read the symbols because that's what we do, man. That's our job.
Yeah.
So it was very fun and very stimulating for me. Anyway, sir, let us start commenting our Q&A portion, and I'll ask you our first question dedicated to you. So your first question is, how do you create one film and fit multiple concepts in it without making it too overwhelming for your audience?
Yeah, that's what I did with Webes Web with Maharlika. No? Maharlika is actually the subtitle of my part of Webes Webes, no? Para dili ma-confuse because Webes Web is the 3-part movie. No? The 3rd part is mine. No? The first part was directed by Don Frasco. It was called Taco Treat, and the second one is A Burger sa Camotes, and the third one is Maharlika. No? That's my part. Yeah, like I showed in the presentation, guys, a lot of concepts that I wanted to put into the film. But one thing that really dictated some creative decisions along the way is I don't want to make it appear contrived, no? I want it to work even without the viewer understanding or catching the symbolism. Gets ninyo? Bisan pag wala niya makatch ang symbolism, gets gyapon niya ang story. No, I think basic siya. No? Ang symbolism would be the bonus for those who are more inquisitive, di ba? Or more perceptive of these details in the film. No? For the critics. No? But it had to work even without the symbolism. So that's why wala na kung gisentro gyud on the symbolism. The symbolism are there to reinforce the meaning. No? So, yeah, mura na akong guide, no? Ayaw isentro tanan sa symbolism, but or you can do that, but see to it na masabtan gyapon, no? Bisag otherwise murag kung naay mga clever kayo nga viewer, yun, obvious sa kayo yung symbolism, no? So subsugon ka, no? Mahimo kang meme, di ba?
Yes, sir. I definitely agree. Yes, thank you very much. What did you think of that, Happy? What's your opinion?
Yeah, sakto ang gitubag ni sir kay di ba sa kanang pirmi na lang sa imong film kay pirmi na lang about sa symbolism. So what if ang mga tao sad no kay wala sa sila nag-apa sa symbolism. There are people biya nga ang apa sa rasad nila kay ang plain rigid nga story or mismo plainly the aesthetic lang nga na ang uban nga puro symbolism kay mo overwhelm man sad siya nga na ba.
A symbolism have to be integral of the integral sa scene. Dili kay gituyo ni mo siya butang diha, no? The symbolism should be part of, you know, the milieu of diha. Wala nimo siya kanang artificial kayo, no? I mean, you measure the success of symbolism when it is least noticeable, no? Inana siya.
Thank you, sir, for your answer. So, napasa tayo ang question, sir, from another viewer. Yung question kay Sir, how are filmmakers significant in today's society? What role do they play?
I think Sir is having some signal issues. Are you still there, sir? Marag na freeze na jud siya. Sige lang kita just us na lang Happy while waiting for Sir Yap to get back.
Hi viewers.
Hello.
Shout out daw Ate Phoebe si Angelo Pocong.
Hello Angelo Pocong. I just saw your Instagram just now and wow, nilot imong art.
Yay!
I could never. Lahi akong art style. Yeah,
Yes.
anime ako okay. And he's also up for commissions, guys, so follow him on Instagram. What's his Instagram, Happy?
Again, what was that again? What's it?
Art
Agelos.
That's his
Something
double
like that.
G.
Yes.
Art then double G ELOS.
He also mentioned a thing, ganahan daw siya nga i-draw ka niya.
Ooh. Sige, karon ako i-post.
Angela, start tawag drawing ni Ate Phoebe kay ready na siya mag-model ni mo.
Yeah, thank you.
Mahimo, i-pin ka niya sa iyang Instagram post siguro. Excited na ka siya mo drawing ni mo, te.
Thank you. Happy na ba Christmas?
Yeah! Libre na yan, Angelo. Naningaw kay siya nag-watch, ate. Si Roger lagi kaniya. Wala ko ni bayad. Libre na basta ikaw.
Sige. Is there something our dear Sir Kyle would like to say in lieu of Mr. Yap?
Siguro just a fun fact. Sir, in 2006, no, the year where CINE U was born, it was the students of January Yap in CINE U, because January Yap was also a former teacher here sa CINE U. He was teaching com students also, and Sir January Yap is here. Yes, his students was the one who created CINE U. Sakto ba, sir?
Yeah, it was supposed to be just a small class project, no? Because I wanted them to have kind of culminating activity, for our video production class.
Intro to film.
Yeah, intro to film class, and then this is crazy kids. I mean, let's spend 80 pesos poster and expand it to the whole school. You know, so yeah, we printed that, and we had a number of participants. No? It really started really big because it was also during the time when my some friends, like Gerald Tarog was our judge, Ruel Antipuesto and Remton came over. His name, Victor Villanueva came over to watch the festival. No? At that time, medyo there's no other school was doing it. No? There was UP who had a number of years doing it but stopped. There was STC, but when I joined CNU, wala na at that time. No other school was doing it. So yeah, we started that. We created our logo, and then it became eventually a yearly thing, no? And yeah, and it became big actually, And yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. I wish I was there at that time. It sounds very fun, but I also had fun once during back in the old days, first year pa ko, char. Okay. Sige, let's keep moving on. Happy. It's good to have you back, Professor Yap. Sige, go Happy.
I have a
with the
question for Sir Yap. Sir, having more than 15 years or 15 years na ba sobra ang CINE U, being back in CINE U, how does it feel like being back after your students created CINE U?
I think Sir Yap has left the chat again. Yeah, technical issues dyan siya. Sige lang.
Huwag mo kaming iwan, sir.
Sir, please. No, wait, guys. Maybe this is symbolism. He's teaching us something. This is a whole new level na webinar.
Oh, diba? Nag-practice. Basig i-film na ta ni sir. Nag-symbolism
Yeah,
siya.
he's actually making a movie right now.
Yeah, ang symbol
yeah.
ani guys kay mobiya ra jud tan. Charot.
No.
Ayaw.
Yes. Yeah, pudong na ni kuan second arc of the story. Ah.
Char. Nagsisunto na si sir. Ya kita kay upat kay baw. Napay na magpa-shoutout ni mo Ate Phoebe na sa chat.
Yes.
Nasa chat.
Kinsay ganahan pa shoutout tira. Tag 50
Si Catherine
per letter.
Si Catherine Reyes, pa-shoutout siya.
Hello, Catherine Reyes.
Nag-shut
down ko si
Balik, wala na record.
Naano siya sa Zoom, ate.
Ay, okay. Hello, Catherine. From what course siya?
Film media. Classmate ako, ate.
Oh, hello, film babies.
Hi.
How is it being a film kid?
More may journalista karon.
Ay, anak man jud. It's sort of mixed. When you get to third year, maybe you will be graced with the presence of Sir Kyle to teach you about all the aspects of film. Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, na-learn jud me a lot.
Excited
And I
me,
like
sir.
it because very practical. Like, dili dakan essays. You really have to put in the work in your composition, and you have to make the actual kanang scene jud, which is really nice. You'll get there. And someone else wants to shout out si K-Ann. Hello, K-Ann.
Sa YouTube, basig na magpa-shout out.
Ito. 10 pesos per letter, guys, na discount.
Oh, God bless,
karon.
guys. Mo poster na si Ate Phoebe sa yan, Gcash on niya.
Yeah.
Saka to, nagpa-shout out ha, Angelo, Catherine, timan-in ninyo.
Sige. Sir Yap isn't back yet, no? And it's already 4:10 p.m. Sige, maybe we'll wait for a couple more minutes and see. And if the situation is still the same, I think maybe we can have him at another time na lang, no? And give him another opportunity.
Sorry,
Ay,
guys.
nana si Sir Yap.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah. Sige to last na.
Asa daw ang last question, Happy?
Sa question ni Sir Kyle, can you repeat it, Sir Kyle?
Yes, sir. How does it feel coming back to or looking at CNU right now? Nga it really evolved from just a simple project or an activity. Ingon ani na karon ang CNU. It's 15 years already.
Yeah, I'm really very excited for you guys. Na you revived it. In fact, that batch that created this also is also felt very proud. No, we carry on in the tradition of CINE U. Yeah, at that time, siguro medyo suntok sa buwan, no? Hoping for a career in cinema. No? But right now, I mean, we are at that a point now where video content is so pervasive, no? Even in social media, you can actually create your own film. No? Medyo makaya na nimo even with the phone, no? Yeah, and so the CINE would be perfect breeding ground for, self-respecting filmmakers later on. And I'm glad also that you're there, Kyle.
Thank you, sir.
Helping out the students.
Yeah, sir, we have some students wondering if you would come back down to CNU, maybe as a part-time teacher, because they're looking forward to you teaching them Dao.
You ask Sir Joseph.
Hello, Sir Tubes. But shout out, sir. Baka naman, sir.
Who's your, there's Kyle naman. I mean, equally competent, to
Oh yes, sir. I can really attest to that.
Yeah.
I was his student, man.
Course,
For film, yes.
And he actually produced a very good thesis, no? Which I paneled also. Congrats again, Kyle. It was on cinema. No?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your inputs.
Yeah, of course.
Sige, let's start moving on with our Q&A. Kay hapit naman time. And we would still like to get more insights from Professor Yap. Sige, go, Happy.
So, lain question, sir, from Orbelin Soliano. What can you advise to us first-time writers? Like, unsay dapat na mo i-avoid? Like, mga do's and don'ts as a beginner sa script writing, sir?
I-avoid nimo ang indolence, ang tapol. Okay. Well,
naigo mi to, sir.
Read a lot, no? Read a lot. Because, I mean, for all you know, you're the only one thinking you're original, but it has actually been written, your idea. No? So you read a lot. You watch films, you watch films. You study, you study human beings. No? You observe people. Dili tungod kay himantayon ka, but I mean, you need that when you create, because you're writing about characters, people, no? Their problems, how they're dealing with their problems, their traumas, I get to know people, get to know their stories. That's why also I made it to point nga abot to 5,000 of Facebook friends, because that's how I get to know stories of people. Do not live in an echo chamber, guys. Imo lang kagaling damgo imong madungog every day. Step out of that zone and observe people, observe society. Kana siya, no? Some of the students ask me how I deal with writer's block, no? I actually qualify into two nature ang writer's block. If it's a problem of kanang execution, no? It's a problem of execution or it's a problem of imagination, no? Kung pasabot sa imagination, problem of imagination, meaning wala na jud kay mahunaw na no, na bankrupt na gyud imong imagination. But if it's a problem of execution, meaning to say you know what to write but maglisod kang execute, that's another problem, no? So ako siyang i-distinguish and address it very differently, no? So if it's a problem of execution, I have to push myself to execute, to write, bisag wa ko kalibutan ang saon, basta kay naa akong imagination. I know where the story is going, but I cannot seem to write it, so I push myself, no? Discipline. Pugso nimo. But if it's a problem of imagination, di man yung mapugos. You cannot give what you don't have, di ba? So what I do is I mean just walk around, no? Talk to people, and I forget about the project. Sooner or later it will come back, no? I believe in connecting the dots, guys. No, some experiences may not be directly related to what you're doing, and then sooner or later you will realize na, lah, pwede man di siya, no? Kuan ani, no? Masuwat sa story. No? So for example, I was driving, may kalit tiring ni tabok sa dan. Kunya, napit ako naligsan. No? And then, sa unahan ay tawo nagdala siyang plato, no, nga nagkaon siya. Abot nganong niabot siya sa daplin sa dalan. No? And I don't know, but at some point, marag na-connect na ko ang iring o katong tawo. So nahimo siyang short story, no? About this lonely person who's trying to remember an ex, no, unya nag-prepare na siya food dito siyang table, gi-prepare niya in such a way that how the ex would prepare the table, yung gi-set ang table, because that's how close he could get to the memory of the ex. But while na-set na niya tarong ang iyang lamisa, nalipat siya gikaon sa iring ang sudan, no? He was so upset because symbolically dili lang ang pagkaon ang gilabtan sa iring, ang iyang memory of the ex ang gilabtan sa iring. So iyang gigukod ang iring all the way to the street. So you see, seemingly disconnected things na-connect na nimo siya, no? It's about connecting the dots, guys. So makatabang siya. So that's one of the tricks that you can do. Walay experience na usik. At some point, ma-connect nimo siya. No? Yeah.
So mao to siya, guys. Avoid kanang tapol and then have discipline mo nang gipasabot ni sir. Then I totally agree with sir saying nga kanang walk around ka, magita kag inspiration, and when he said nga you cannot give what you do not have. So for anakay to fill your cup, you go around and fill your cup of kanang creativity, and so that naay mo awas kay again you cannot give what you do not have. Thank you so much for your answer, sir. So Ate Phoebe, do you have other questions that we could ask Sir Yap?
Yeah. Na-surprise ko, no? Like, sometimes I do that. Procrastination is the key. Yeah, I think it depends on your process, because see, Sir Patrick actually mentioned that not writing is also writing down. So I think depending on your process as an artist, as a writer, like sometimes working hard gets your creative juices flowing, and sometimes just resting also helps. So yeah, what works for you, as long as you can produce something that you love. Yeah. All right. So
writing is not writing is not something that happens when you sit down and punch on your keys, no? Writing also happens even before that, no? And writing also happens during the revision, no? So it's a long, dili lang siya. Let's forget the notion that writing is actually the thing that where you sit down and write. Dili na siya mao. Even while you're walking down the street, you can write, no, in your head. No, yeah, even if you live life, that's already writing by itself. No? The writing part is the execution na lang of that imagination. So
yes, yeah, that's very true, sir. Thank you so much. We have another question from my dear Angelo Pocong. He asks, in creating metaphors for a story, how do you make sure it is subtle and not cliche, yet still be able to be understood?
There are metaphors, guys, nga kanang gitawag na tong archetypes, di ba? I mean, kanang common kayo, like kanang litan, ang buwan, ang moon. What does it signify to most of us, regardless of your culture, di ba? Longing, depression, di ba? And sa loneliness and moon, di ba? So common na siya. No? So para dili kayo siya obvious, you try to look for fresher metaphors, you know. Although dili na siya clear-cut rule nga dili ka makagamit og archetypes, but you can do that as well. Just as long as the story works even without the metaphors. Kung imo siyang tangtangon, masabtan ba ka gyapon imong story? Kung masabtan, then it works fine. So the metaphors will be there to reinforce the meaning or to enrich the meaning of ano. Isod man sa kayo, you unravel nimo ang story by way of metaphors na lang tanan, di ba? I mean, yeah, but although there are filmmakers who are really good in integrating metaphors and symbolism, no? Murag, let me name some. I think si Tarkovsky, I think, yung mga classic, maayo sila mo, to the point nga, i-describe sa critics sa ilang films, tawgon siya poetic, no? Because there are a lot of metaphors. Metaphors are not, by the way, objects lang. No? They could be gestures, no? They could be incidents, they could be moments. No? Pwede na siya, metaphors. They could be characters themselves as metaphors, as symbolism. Kato akong giingon sa Joe Black, di ba? The characters became metaphors. No? But even if you don't understand the metaphor, you still understand the story. No? The story still works, di ba? For generally. No?
Yes, thank you so much, sir, for your insights. Happy, do you have another question for Professor Yap?
Here's a question from another anonymous viewer. Hi, sir. Did the pandemic affected or in some way changed script writers' writing style? If yes, in what way? Thank you.
What has changed, however, is I think the option to make the current situation as material for your writing. So, I mean, because it's right there under our nose, no, ang crisis and pandemic. So you might as well use that as material for your stories, di ba? That, I think that's the only thing that has changed. But in terms of writing process, creative process, still the same thing. No? Only nga ang mga tema may revolve around the current situation of the pandemic. Although, I don't know, but I don't know if na ba yung mga films na produce na ang mga artista or ang story nakamask. Wala ko man siguro. No? Maybe after this pandemic, when full blast shooting will be allowed, I think there will be a lot of films that will recall our experiences of the pandemic. You know? Because it's a totally new experience for us. No? A lot of breakups, actually. No? A lot of deaths. No? Unmourned deaths, in fact, no, because we cannot go visit our friends who died, diba? So, murag, these are very rich materials for us. I mean, I think now our creatives are still in the process of, digesting everything that has happened to us as a humanity. So, yeah, the pandemic has kind of, changed the kind of themes. We've become more reflective of life itself, life and death. Because every day we see obituaries on social media. Yeah, those are the things I think change.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And we're actually expecting, no, in the future, na yung mga films about our experiences right now sa pandemic. And can I shout out di ay sa mga students ni Sir Tubilan nga nag-create og films about sa pandemic. God bless yung films, guys. Apil day ko di ay.
Wow,
God bless,
you're
guys.
part of it.
Yeah, like mga students ni Sir Tubilan kaya nagpa-create make short film about the pandemic, like the victories during the pandemic and all. Yeah, so
Uy,
Ate
wow,
Phoebe.
good luck.
Yes,
we really need this webinar, no? Dapat present mo tanan.
Yes, high films media students.
Flat one. Yes.
Yeah. Ate Phoebe, napakailain question?
Yeah, we have a lot actually, and sige, let's shoot them all so that we can answer those questions that weren't able to be answered. So, sir, for you, how do you deal with creative differences?
Among the team.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what you mean, among the production team. Well, cinema has always been the director's medium. No? I mean, siya gid ang pinaka final na creative squad, no? Who called the shots. But sometimes in a mainstream cinema setup, there's the producer. You know? I heard stories of, say for example, di lang po mention, no? But they're now working with major production outfit. The production outfit would actually provide them with a checklist. So dapat na ay cheating ang imong script. Dapat na ay kana mga love-hate part ng imong script. So na checklist, no? So ikaw as scriptwriter, you have these boundaries to work on. no? Gibutaan na kadaan right at the start, no? So asa man diha dapit ang final kiss na part. So gawin mo na sang butangan sa yung script, no? So some producers are like that. In fact, a lot of mainstream producers are like that. Mo dictate sila. So yeah, that's why a lot of kanang mga hardcore gid nga creatives feel a little bit frustrated sa mainstream na setup because sa diktaran sila sa even like for example Cinema 1, di ba? I mean, grant tuod ang Cinema 1 of fund but dapat na ay sila magbuot sa usa ka artista nga ibutang diha. Ya what if Tagalog yung script is Bisaya? So mapugos ka create og character nga Tagalog or kana kung minor character, what if major character? So it changes the whole dynamics ba, no? So that's why I think the braver filmmakers, like for example silang Love Diaz, would produce their own films independently, no? Or dili sila beholden sa mga producers. So inana nga ito. Yes, Carl, no? Sakto, author theory, no? The hierarchy. It has always been the director's medium ng cinema.
Yes, I remember that lesson, sir. I was actually going to mention that I just forgot the name of the theory, but na-save ko. That depends on the production team, but sometimes power really lies in the director, Jude. So they get the say with everything. But the disadvantage of that is if the movie will flop, the audience might think that the rest of his creations will be a flop also. So it's 100 or nothing. Good, no?
I think one of the more successful directors na si Lino Broca was very good at negotiating his films, no, with producers. For example, pauyunan niya ang producer of 4 films just as long as pasagdan in 1 film, no? So he had all the creative decisions in control in 1 film, but pauyunan niya ang director si Mother Lily, for example, at that time kung 4 films. Sige, maghimo kung 4 films nga kanang pakilig lang. But at the same time, tagay ko 1 film na ako ray decide kung saan ako. I think that's how Lino Broca did it. That's why anyway, nobody remembers those trashy films. People will only remember the classic ones that he made, di ba? Yeah. Inana siya.
Yes, sir. Ikaw, what do you think of that, Happy?
Wala akong masabi.
By the way, as a scriptwriter also, you can choose kung you want ba a genre. Start ba ka with an idea of a genre, no? The kini comedy, kini thriller or political thriller or horror, di ba? That's one thing. No? There are writers who are like that, especially those na naka-work na sa mainstream. No, they think along genre mentality, no? But katong medyo kuan ka, art house ka, art. So they wala. I mean, you don't define your stories according to genre, no? Inana na siya. So 2 schools actually. No? But if you want to really build a career, you have to think along genre siguro. Okay. Yeah, even if ganahan ka art imong film, you have to still work along genres, no? Parasite is actually genre. Bisag naon ni mga art siya, pero genre magyapon siya. What was it? Parasite? Yeah, Parasite. No? Kang Bong Joon.
Katong Korean, sir.
Yeah. Which became Best Picture, diba, sa Oscars.
Yes.
Daghan sa tug symbolism, sir, no? Like katong lines between dato o katong mga pobre, kana grabe sa to ilahang hidden messages and symbols.
Yes.
Yeah.
The house itself, di ba?
Bitaw. Sige.
Does it happen? Sorry. Like personal question.
Go.
Like, does it happen at work, sir? Maglalis pud mo, like there will be conflicts and arguments between the director and the writer sa inyong work?
Actually, the writer really don't have the right to dictate what the director wants to do. it's always the director that calls the shots, but the writer can perhaps siguro suggest or recommend or make the director understand unsay pasabot aning kuan no aning dialogue unsay mga understatements aning dialogue, but in the long run it's had to be the director no? In fact naidaghang films nga simple ra kayang dialogue but na flesh out pag-ayo sa director no by way of kanang nuances sa acting, by way of kanang mga mise en scène no mga scene within a scene. So daghan mang films nga nana no simple ra sa dialogue pero when you look at how the story unfolds visually nindot kayo no? Yeah.
Yes, that's so
Thank you,
true.
sir.
Really depends what you want to strengthen in a movie and what you want to emphasize would no? Diba happy?
Yes. So, interesting juga in filmmaking. Like, simple lang kayo makita niyo mo sa screen pero dahil kay panghitabo sa behind the screens. The real behind the real nga naman.
Yeah, bitaw. Sige, it's your turn to ask Professor Yap another question.
This is another question from an anonymous viewer. So the question is, Professor Yap, what can you do to promote Cebuano filmmaking?
I would promote the Binisaya film movement because I mean the guys have pretty much pushed Cebuano cinema for quite a while already, and they're succeeding actually. Sila ang pinaka most organized, no? And with the most patronage po, no? The Binisaya film movement. Wala man siguro lang entity no nga today nga mas with that kind of force no, and participation from the younger filmmakers. Another way would be if you are in school or maybe recommend the films to your teachers, to the students, no? To the community. No? Share each time na activity ang Binisaya, share ninyo sa Facebook, social media. It's one way. No? I think also we need, if some of you are not really into writing films, you can probably do writing about film. You can do criticism. One way to generate interest on Cebuano cinema is to generate also criticism, encourage criticism. By criticism doesn't mean putting down, but give it a close discussion, comprehensive academic discussion of the films that we're doing. Very ironic because ang mga nagsulat about Cebuano cinema are academics in Manila, no? in UP, Diliman. Sila ni Dr. Tolentino, sila si Dr. Campos, and I have yet to diri sa atua ba. So yeah, you're right. No? Si Sir Dio Campos, si Nick Dio Campos. So maybe
Yes,
I
sir.
can do later on, write a book on Cebuano cinema. Kaya nasugdan naman niya. I'm in USC. I think there are film scholars. They're also writing about Cebuano cinema. That's one way to encourage, our cinema.
Right. Bitaw, like we provide opportunities for those who actually want to make Cebuano films. So we could at least give them a platform to express that. And social media is very powerful, and we know that very much today. So who knows, no? Suddenly one day ma-boom jud ang mga Cebuano films, maybe even more than the usual Tagalog films. So we're hoping for that. Sige, due to some time constraints, we are down to our last question. And I saw this in the live chat, and I think it's a very important question since Mani ang last. So sir, since today we've learned what are the things to do when writing a script, the do's, but what about the don'ts? Especially for first-time film script writers right now watching this video, what are the things that they should avoid doing when writing a script?
Unless you know your story, you know your characters, don't start any script. The pinaka-backbone niya is of course the story mo. Yeah. It's the center that holds, no? The story itself. And Importante nga you know what you want to say. If you don't know what to say, it's not clear to you, then start with, I mean, do not even shoot. No? Kung dili ka sure unsay gusto nang isulti. Otherwise, you'll end up with an empty film. No? Na nagdula-dula lang ka, kay dili gid kayo sure ka unsay mo. Nalipay ra ka unsaon pag shoot ani nga butang. If that's the only thing you have, I mean, there's no way to shoot a film. No? Dapat kabalo ka unsay gusto nimo isulti. No? Mao na siya because it's communication, di ba? I mean, what's your message? Di ba? So, kinana siya. You have to be clear unsa may gusto nako isulti ani nga story. Unsa may human insight, no, nga akong ika-offer. No? Unsa may akong social commentary nga akong ibutang dinhi sa akong film. Kana naman siguro, no? Ayaw tagay ang audience of something na hilaw, no? Nagadua-dua lang ka. Yeah. I think kana lang.
But when you write, you have to write from the heart. Ah? Script writer na ko.
Oh my gosh, from video editor to script writer na si Ate Phoebe.
Well, I am making the transition, the shift. Okay, sige, take it away, Happy.
Thank you, Prof. Yap, for an interesting perspective and style of script writing. So thank you so much for answering the questions of the curious filmmaker aspirants just like me. So before we proceed to our photo op, we would like to give you a certificate. This certificate of appreciation is presented to Mr. Janwar E. Yap for actively participating in the webinar series entitled The Real Behind the Reel, Hows and Whys of Filmmaking on November 25 and 27 of 2021, given this 25th day of November 2021. Thank you so much, Mr. Yap.
Thank you.
It's such an honor for you to be
Thank
here.
you. And let's not forget to have a photo opportunity. It's what an honor to have Professor Yap with us. So may we request again our Zoom participants to please turn on their cameras and show once again their very fresh afternoon faces. Na fresh of powder. Na very hydrated na mga faces.
Wow,
Okay.
super
I can
fresh.
see you guys opening your cameras.
Hi.
Okay, let's go. Hello.
Kasi mo capture para di ta mapalaw na sad.
Beto,
Okay.
kinsa mag-capture dire. Sige, ready na, tech team? Okay, ready. 1, 2, 3, smile. Script writing.
Cine-mates.
The reel behind the reel.
Cine U.
Okay. Thank you very much to our Zoom
Thank you.
participants. Thank you very much, Professor Yap, for
so much.
everything, for your time. Thank you, Jude.
Thank you.
Yeah. You may now take your leave, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Oh, such an honor.
Lagi, wow, what time is it? It's 4:39.
39. Very like, kuan kita sa time.
Yeah,
Follow
sige lang. We have a lot more days to learn more about film. So don't worry, guys.
Yes. We still have tomorrow and we still have Saturday niya. If ganahan mo sa speakers karon na pa lain yung speakers ugma. If ganahan mo sa script writing ato na sa video editing. Mo ni ang forte ni Ate Phoebe.
Wow,
So-
yes. Ako na lang mo speaker be, ang hidden third speaker.
Ready na mo Sineo si Ate Phoebe daw tong third speaker.
Yes. Okay. So we have officially reached the last part of our program. Diba, Happy?
Yes. So we want to say thank you for all of those who have participated in this webinar. I'm pretty sure most of you viewers are getting more zealous about filmmaking. Mas mo zealous pa jud mo, like mas mo passionate pa jud mo about filmmaking if makahuman mo ani nga webinar. So stay tuned until Saturday, November 27th. Diba, Ate Phoebes?
Yes. Yes, very much happy. I'm also glad to share this experience with you and our live viewers and participants in our Zoom room today to learn about script writing together. I actually really had so much fun, and even though I'm not good at script writing, I feel like I could start writing my own stories from the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot more topics to touch on for us to really understand each area of filmmaking. So stick around, guys, tomorrow, November 26th from 10 a.m. to 12 and 1 to 3. And the topic will be the different phases of film production. Samana ang pre-prod, post-prod. I remember, Sir Kyle.
Wow.
That's one of us, Sir.
Wala ko, loud
Subscribe
dyan.
and like and follow the Cine U YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated. And thank you everyone for being here and watching our live. Have a great evening and enjoy the next webinar tomorrow.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Cine U would like to thank the following: Michael Kauba Styling. Cine U would like to thank the following: Michael Kauba Styling. Cine U in partnership of LA Cat Studio. Cine-mates, Binisaya, Junior Broadcast Alliance, Cine-1, and Cebu S.